Hello and welcome to this Projects in a Box video tour. In this session we're going to be looking at planning and resourcing. Okay, so here we are in the main software application. We're in our project, and associated with our project we will have a plan or perhaps multiple plans, and the data from those is going to be drawn into our project controls database. That's going to happen every time we check out or check out and then check in a version of that plan. It will automatically draw that data out, put it into the database, and it's then going to be available for us to look at task information for the individual or for the project as a whole, to look at resource profiling against that data, and to look at that across individuals or portfolios or other groupings that we're interested in. So the first point is the plan. This plan can be a planner file, as it is in this particular case, and that can be updated pretty regularly, as this one has been here. If I just view the file, we can have a little look at it. And of course the advantage that we're using files here is that you can take the file and send it to people. Planner users can manage plans, risks and issues. And so here's our plan part of the planner file, with that latest information in it. If we check this out, we could update this, add percentages, add new tasks, change resource allocations, etc. Save it, check it back in, and that data would, as I say, automatically be read into the system. As well as using Planner, we can also use Microsoft Project. We can also use Excel and some other formats as well. So this project currently just uses that Planner file. And if we come in here to the Project Summary Information form and have a look, we can see that's the only form of task information that we're loading. We're loading risks and issues as well, but it's the only task format. What I'm going to do to just demonstrate the flexibility of this is to bring in a Microsoft Project file as well, and add the data from that to our project. So here we are. I'm just going to use the normal drag and drop to add the file into the system. So our project now contains this test MPP file. We need to tell the system we want to use that as a project controls file. So we come back to this form here, and we then browse to include that. So we're just going to pick that file up, and we're doing this manually because it's a file we've added as an extra. The standard set are managed automatically by the method template, so it sets up the standard arrangement of tasks, risks, issues, etc. Multiple plans if you want them to work like that. And of course you don't have to use a planner. You could use Microsoft Project as your standard starting template for task information. So now we have that. The next time it's checked out and checked in, the data will be read to the database, or we can force it to read that in now. Okay, which we've now done. So when we come back and want to now see that information, if we use Plan here in the Tools menu, or up in Project Controls, we can pick Project Level Tasks, and as the Project Manager I'm able to pick that option. That's going to show me every task that we hold for this project. So this is our display of this. So this is reading straight from the database and showing me every task that it has. We can see it's got these tasks here at the top, and these are coming from our planner file, and these ones here and these are coming from the Microsoft Project file. If we want to just make that a bit clearer, we can work with the view to do that. So I'm going to go in to the default view, and we have two ways of controlling what we see here within the display. The data range, which is currently all the tasks for this project, which is why it's picking up them from two different separate plans, because they're both in this project, and the view, which controls how we see that data within there. So we've currently got all of the tasks, we're not filtering it at all, and we've got a certain set of display columns. I'm just going to edit the display columns here to include the plan name. We can see that over here, and I'm just going to move that down this end so we can see it nice and easily. And so we can start to see as we come down to these ones here. These are coming from our Microsoft project file, and the ones we had back up here are coming from our planner file. So it's showing me every task in the database for this project. Now we can change that data range. We can expand it if we, it's all dependent upon the sort of permissions and license we have. But I can expand that to look at all the portfolio tasks because I have permissions to do that. Or I could narrow it and look at all my tasks on the project, because of course we know who the resources are on these tasks, and we've got those tied to users, so we can show all the tasks for the current user, whichever project plan they've come from. And that's a nice and easy thing to do, and that's what most team members will get. They won't necessarily get the full project plan, they'll probably just get their tasks from it. And in fact, as a team member, I can go one step further and look at all my tasks across all the projects on the server. By just doing that, essentially it goes through and says, well, give me everything with that user in it. And this is the data range. This is the outer bounds of what we can see. It's all the data that matches that particular requirement. You'll see it's currently still using my edited view. It's showing me the plan name here as part of this set. But if I go back and select my default view again, then that plan name field has gone. And that's because we've gone back to a standard analysis of the current range of data. And this view then allows us to be a bit more sophisticated about exactly what we're seeing. So I can come and look at, for example, overdue tasks. And this one has a change of column arrangements again, but it also runs some filters. We can see the filter area is now showing as being on, and it's therefore filtered down the overall set of tasks to remove the ones that weren't due yet to start, or have already been completed successfully. So it's just shown me the overdue ones. And as we saw a moment ago, we can edit these views to change the columns, to change the order of the columns. We can run some different filters here. So obviously we're excluding completed tasks, excluding tasks yet to start, and excluding tasks not yet due to finish. So that's giving us a remainder, everything that's overdue. And we can build up these rules however we want to. We can change exactly what we're going to show in terms of progress bars and predecessors and grid lines, and whether we want to show a Gantt chart and a task list, or one or the other, or both. A whole range of different settings in here, the sort of date range arrangements we want to have for this chart. And once we've tweaked all that to be how we want it to be, it obviously applies to the current analysis, and we'll stay here until we change our view. If it's a particularly useful thing we want to use again and again, we can use save as, and save as will allow us to retain that for use again. Depending on the type of user we are, we can either do, well, all users can save it as a personal view. It's available when you're logged on for all of your projects, portfolios, etc. You can save it for the current project if you're a manager of that project, and you can save it for global if you're an administrator, and that means it's available for everybody to use across the system. And these saved views are very quick and easy ways of getting to a particular bit of analysis for use in this sort of interface, but also in reporting, and also on tablets and devices using the browser application. So it's a really useful thing to be able to do, to really closely configure all that, how you want it ordering, how you want it displaying, what date ranges, etc., and getting that usable again and again. Of course, the other point here is once we've got this data, we can use export from here to grab the image of what we're looking at as a chart, or the data as a CSV or as a clipboard copy to paste into a table. So we can take that and use it elsewhere. So these are very popular features for getting quickly to a bit of analysis and then springboarding and using that data for something else. Now that's the situation for plans and task information. Exactly the same thing applies to resource profiles, and if you'd seen the earlier or additional video tours for risks and issues, you'll see exactly the same thing happens to risks and issues too. They all use the same structure of form. with data range and view and a consistent layout, so that it's very easy once you've started to learn how to use one of them to transfer those skills onto others. So let's go and have a look at the project resource chart, which is the other one to cover in this tour. So here we've got resources, all the resources for the Office Move project. Actually, it's coming from the two, it looks slightly disconnected, but it's coming from those two plans in the way that we've seen already. If I just come back to here and we switch this back into the project tasks and default view, we shouldn't be particularly surprised the resource profile looks like that, because our two plans don't really overlap here within this particular project. So we've got associated with that some data from the resource profile coming from Microsoft Project and some coming from Planner. In some cases the same people are working on each task, so we've got Sue in here and Sue in here, and that's because our lookup, which ties the resource name in the plan to the user in the system, will work on either. It's just looking at whatever name is in the resource field, and if it matches one of the names, resource names tied to the user, then it puts those tasks against that user's particular profile. So here we are for the project. We can again change the data range if we want to, so we can go up and look at the portfolio tasks. So now we've included data from a whole load of other projects too. We can see all that down here. Some people will be working on multiple projects, as admin is here. Other people will be working on just one. And we can see that data. We can also then start, obviously as we hover in here, we get to see what the details of those particular tasks are in that period. So the data range allows us to take that up and down, and we can take that to look at individuals as well. So every user can get their resource chart. They can't necessarily get the whole portfolio and project, but they can get their own resource chart for the project and all my tasks. Now, having done this a number of times, I know that mine is particularly heavy because I'm often the example that's resourced into projects. So I'm somewhat over my available capacity line. So let's go and have a look at other people. But the key thing here is, as an individual, you can come in straight away and see what your forward workload's like. What am I supposed to be doing this month? What am I doing next month? Does it look like that's an achievable thing? As an administrator, I can come and look at this, all tasks across the system, not just for me, but for selected users. It initially picks just me, and I can take that away and go and pick particular people I'm interested in. So let's go like that. Okay, so that's the those might be 4 people in a particular team, and we can see that some periods that's not looking too bad, others are looking pretty poor, and we could start to think about how we might change that by checking out some project plans, moving their start dates backwards and forwards, delaying some of the tasks, etc., to try and fit that in a little bit better into our available capacity line. Now once we've got these views how we want them, exactly the same sort of stuff as we did before, we can export this as a picture. We can go and get it, so this bit is a picture, we can get the data out to clipboard, etc. Actually the data that we're using here is available in this second tab, resource table. So we can go and get that from here as well if we want to see some information about which projects and which people and what the loadings are, etc. So we can also get that out as source data. So that's pretty useful thing to be able to do. All this data is coming from the Microsoft project plans you already have, planner files, Excel, and so it means not everybody has to have Microsoft Project to be able to produce these charts, and often this is the thing that people buy Project Server to do. They spend a lot of money buying Project Server to be able to do exactly this thing here, and you can do this with Small Team Edition, for £999. So this is a very powerful piece of functionality. Of course, we can also play with the view here, and if I go in and select our default view, and we can edit that view. Now we can't do the full range of things here that we could with views in in the plan and task form, we can run filters if we want to. So we could, I mean, often the sort of filter we're interested in is the one we've run already, which is for particular users, and that's sort of brought out in a slightly separate way. But we could come in here and look for particular tasks that were tagged with something, like a particular name on them, something like that. We could look for all meetings or something like that. So we can filter the results of tasks that come into here. But the particular thing we're interested in is this resource chart tab, because here we can start to change the data we're displaying. So it shows percentage instead. We can change the intervals, so we could come down to look at days if we wanted to. We could of course come here and look at every 4 or every 3 months or something like that and do a quarterly analysis. And of course we can then save that as a standard view. So we've got a quarterly analysis view, we've got a monthly analysis view, we've got a weekly analysis view, etc., to allow us to jump around those things just by picking them in the view rather than having to go in and change the settings each time. But here's our daily analysis, which is often obviously a good one to look at. The monthly gives you a sort of guide as to what's going on, but this is where the real obviously detail is. Okay, so that's talking a bit about plans, tasks, resources in the software application. We can get task information in the browser application too, not currently resource profiles, although that will come in a future version. So if we go off and have a look at our browser application here, we can pick up tasks, and it gives me automatically all my tasks, global default view. I can switch this to the project, the portfolio, etc., and go away and do exactly the same sort of thing. So we're in Office Move here, same project we looked at a moment ago, and that's, this is a live view. This can be from our tablet or our smartphone. We can suddenly see somebody's loaded an extra plan into here, and we can see all the information about that. If we run a view, we can obviously refine that. We can't change the view, we can't customize the views here. We can pick from the available view list, and that's why the administrator can go away, create custom views, save them to make them available for the people to access. And that gives you a nice flexibility and ease of use on the tablet without too much fine detail of forms that you have to fiddle through. Setting up filters, etc., would be a bit cumbersome from a tablet or a smartphone. But we can get to all that information here, and we can get things like resource profiles, of course, into dashboards. So if I come to the dashboard here and I want to look at, I've got a nicely saved quarterly resources portfolio here, and I can run that, and it's going to produce the same sort of chart. It's not quite as interactive, but it's done the same thing. It's given me a quarterly breakdown of resources for this portfolio. So we can still get this stuff into the browser app, not quite as interactive, but using preset reports. So quite a lot there about tasks and plans and resources. Of course, getting that stuff into reporting is also very important, and that's really what the sort of dashboard was just doing a second ago. When I run a project or a portfolio report, in the plan reports area here, I can activate a resource chart or a plan thing, and I can decide which view it's going to use. I can either customly set up one, or I can load one from the available pre-saved views. And again, if you've saved your own customized view, you can use it to standardize not only the analysis but also what goes into the reports as well. So we'll do an overdue tasks one, for example, here, and you can have as many of these as you want to in each space. So we can have a list here which has maybe 2 or 3 different views on the task database for the project, and a couple of different resource profile views. If we wanted to, we could have something that was for the next month on a daily basis, and we could have something that was the entire life of the project on a quarterly basis. So we can do that sort of fine detail, and when we've got this report exactly how we want it, we can save it if we want to use again and again in a dashboard, so that we can pick it up nice and easily. And of course we can come to here and just load a new report up from that saved list whenever we want to. Of course, when we're saving things, we have exactly the same my, project and global save options depending on who we are. Here's my loaded report, and it's got all the set of things that I particularly want to get into this standard of report. So lots there about plans and resources, and just to come back to a really key point again, which is that you can do this not only with Microsoft Project Plans, but with Planner, which is completely free application, very powerful, and many of our customers are moving to that as a standard planning tool rather than Microsoft Project. Of course, you'll have project managers who've already paid for an expensive Microsoft Project license. They'll know how to use it very well. There's no point in making them change away from that. They can still use Microsoft Project to do all their planning and resourcing, but now the team members will be able to see the data from that, pretty much in real time. As soon as the plans check back in, the data is there available and feeding out to people's devices, into people's reports, etc. Rather than the olden days where project manager does the plan, nobody else can see what's in it apart from that sort of scrappy little image that gets dropped into reports occasionally. Here the data is loaded back into the system and immediately available for other people to interact with, and people find that incredibly helpful. And lighter, smaller projects, newer project managers, they can use Planner, they can use Excel if they want to, and the whole thing is integrated. So that's talking about planning and resourcing. If you haven't looked at them yet, I'd recommend the Risk and Issue video tours and also the reporting video tour. Cover similar topics, extend some of these topics a little bit further, and also the browser app tour, looking at how you can interact with these things through the browser. Hope that's been useful. If you have any further questions, please do contact us. Thank you.